The Honorable Charles Breyer, Senior Judge of the United States District Court for the District of Northern California, is presiding.
Be seated. Oh, be seated. Court order. Bailiff, bring in the accused. Now, you are the jury, and you have the evidence. You actually have the evidence before you become the jury. And in this court, we are going to discuss the accusations against the defendant, Jack Anderson. Jack Anderson, is it true that you delighted in giving A's and hated to give F's?
What do you want to make of it?
That you drove at your expense your students, often accompanied by your dear wife, Florence, a surrogate mother to many students, to local, state, and national speech competitions?
Yes.
That your Lowell forensic team was undefeated for 7 straight years in the Golden Gate Speech Association tournament, true?
That's true.
We'll see how much applause this gets. That you were employed by the Republican Central Committee as a candidate groomer while you were a registered Democrat, true?
You're damn right.
In short, you, Jack Anderson, are hereby charged with influencing generations of impressionable Lowellites to think for themselves, that it's acceptable to be an intellectual, that diligence counts, to ask questions, to believe there are at least two sides, and sometimes more sides to any questions. Is it true that you admonish generations of Lowell students to learn, plan, then talk, and not in the reverse order? True? So you've heard the accusations. What say you, jury? Guilty or not guilty? Guilty! The jury has spoken. Please rise for the pronouncement of judgment. The judgment is that you are sentenced to 20 years more service to the community. Take it away!
Oh, man.
Take it away!
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. under the direction of Jason Chan. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this tribute to our very favorite Jack Anderson and for supporting the Lowell Forensic Society and the Visual and Performing Arts Department. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present my co-MC. You saw him on television for over 45 years, our media man, Jack Hansen.
And how about Roberta Bleiweiss, a famous name in San Francisco? Right? She's on the Wall of Fame out in the hallway if you happen to see that. And she's former president of the Lowell Alumni Association. Nice work there, Roberta. Were you nice to them? Very nice, I hope. And a veteran theatrical and musical producer, performer, promoter, director, and co-founder of Beach Blanket Babylon, one of the great shows in San Francisco. True Renaissance woman.
Thanks, Jack. Of course, you are also on that Wall of Fame. And Jack and I go back quite a while, but I understand you've known Jack Anderson for really a long time. How long have you known Jack Anderson?
Jack and I have been friends ever since he dragged me into his mother's dance studio, and then they dragged me out about a day later. Since about 1947, something like that. And he's much younger than he looks, I can tell you that.
Jack and I are very honored to have been chosen by Mr. A for this memorable event that pays tribute to our good friend and mentor to many. All I have to say is, it's about time somebody acknowledged all the contributions of Jack Anderson. So not only was I a student of his, but he was my master teacher when I made special arrangements with San Jose State to do my student teaching at Lowell High School. I worked with Mr. Anderson's classes, and what a great experience that was. I remember, who's that?
Oh, hello. I'm Ralph Edwards. For folks over 70, they may know me as the host of that classic television show, This Is Your Life.
Do you know him from that, don't you?
And by the looks of things, that would be quite a few of you, actually. And I'm looking for a Jack Anderson.
Aren't we all? I think he may be in the back somewhere. Somebody's coming around the curtain that may have been from some show a week ago. I don't know who that was.
Well,
Here's Jack Anderson now.
hi. You know, wait a second. You're Jack Hansen, KGO, right? The television personality. I've learned a lot of my interviewing skills from you. It's really a pleasure to meet you. Yeah, and you would be
Jack Anderson.
Ah, right. You taught here at Lowell for maybe a few years?
About 38.
Okay, you still scare me. Well, I am delighted because today, Jack Anderson, we have a special surprise for you.
For me?
For you. Jack E. Anderson, this is your Lowell life.
This is Your Life, an American television tradition. And now, here he is again, Mr. This Is Your Life himself, Ralph Edwards.
Thank you, everyone. So, let's get right down to it. Jack Edwin Anderson. May I call you Edwin?
Yes.
Thank you. You are a fifth-generation San Franciscan, born in 1931. You came into the world dancing. And which one of you is that?
The gingerbread.
Ah, good. Okay, I thought that might be the case. So you grew up in the arts, Your sisters had the famous Anderson School of Dance. Oh, by the way, what was that adorable little dog's name?
My great dog, Mickey.
Oh, Mickey. Well, I'm afraid Mickey wasn't able to join us here tonight, but sends his regards. So your sisters had the famous Anderson School of Dance, where I had my first tap dance lessons. As an 8-year-old, you performed in the 1939 World's Fair. During the war, you entertained the troops with your mother's USO company. And indeed, at Lowell, you were a star on the forensics team. You won many speech contests representing Lowell. At San Francisco State, you were captain of the fencing team and Western Intercollegiate Fencing champion. Always quite the swordsman, Jack. You were valedictorian of your class and received a master's degree in speech and drama and a lifelong teaching credential. Right after graduation, you returned to your alma mater and were asked to take over Lowell's historic forensic program. George Lorbier, who had been your forensic coach, became ill, and so you were charged with the responsibility of maintaining a winning program. And by the way, Jack, do you know who that is on the far right?
That would be Stephen Breyer.
That is correct. Justice Stephen Breyer. Now, he couldn't be with us today. He's busy saving our country from that other four. But he did want to say hello.
Hi, Jack. Happy birthday. I can remember when you first came to Lowell High School. I was there with Mark Leland, with Stu Pollock. The debate coach was then George C. Lorbier. And you came as his assistant, that's my recollection. And George Lorbier had been my father's debate coach at Lowell High School, and that of Pat Brown. And together with Lorbier, you had to prepare us to debate Jerry Brown over at St. Ignatius, and a lot of other tough teams. One thing that sticks in my mind is how you told us that when we were stuck, we should say something that in fact caught people's attention and puzzled them. And your favorite was, any fool can count the apples on a tree, but who can count the trees in an apple? I've thought about that quite a lot, and a lot of the other good things that you taught us, and I'd like you to know that over the years, you and Lorbier and the others were of great benefit to me. And so like all your other grateful students, and there are many, many, many over the years, I would like to say thank you. Thank you very much, and again, a very happy birthday.
So, Jack, you were nominated for Teacher of the Year in 1958, but alas, the Chronicle miscalculated the results, and sadly enough, you didn't win, did you?
Is it too late to demand a recount?
I know, Jack. Imagine the Chronicle making a mistake. You went on to head the Visual and Performing Arts Department at Lowell, producing plays, teaching classes in public speaking, drama, and dance. True to your name, you were certainly a jack of all trades. So, Jack, listen carefully now. Do you recognize this voice?
Coach, let's go back, a long way back. September 1954. And I was aching to grow up to be Gene Kelly. You were a new teacher, 24, and you performed for the incoming freshmen. You did a tap dance. I immediately signed up for your class, thinking that you would help me perfect my time step. But you had me timing humorous declamations and dramatic declamations, like Midsummer Night's Dream, which you had great success with when you were a student, and that famous Shakespearean line, which I believe you wrote. Peter Quince, is that your nose, or are you eating a banana?
Okay, please welcome Ms. Fernandez, class of 58.
I get sort of nervous very dreadfully nervous when I think about how you worked and suffered for your students' art. That 3 days and 3 nights on a bus to South Dakota, for example. Oh. There was something about the atmosphere of that bus that seeped into my performance. I'm dreadfully nervous, terribly, I can't. I was doing Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart. And the malevolent air vent in that bus zapped your neck. And when it's rainy, you can still remember South Dakota. True, nervous, very dreadfully nervous, I have been and am. There are even those who would call me mad, but I'm not mad. Except for you, Coach.
Thank you, Vince. And now, Jack, do you recognize this voice?
And do you remember the trip to Lexington, Kentucky in 1957 and Sioux Falls, South Dakota in 1958 when Marianne Peterhans and Betty Fuller and Vince Fernandez and Larry Tribe from Lincoln, whom you chaperoned, and myself and your parents and your cousin Edna, the motley crew on the Greyhound bus going to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and then coming home with our trophy. And you know what happened then?
Irving Zareski, class of '59.
And you remember what happened on the way home? And there we are entering Nebraska, the Greyhound bus station. And it was lunchtime, and everybody went up to the counter, and you say, guys, order some sandwiches. And one, Irving Zaretsky, says, no, I will have fish. A hot Sunday afternoon in mid-Nebraska, I ordered fish. And from there on, until we got back to California, that Greyhound bus stopped at every gas station along the way. As my soul was deposited across the western United States. And every Passover since then, we remember the fish we had in Nebraska.
I'm on mic. What the audience needs to know is Irving came from Israel as a freshman. I could hardly understand the word he said with a thick accent. By the time he was a sophomore, he was California's oratory champion.
Okay, now Jack, we have another voice. Do you recognize this one?
Jack, Coach Jack, when I started Lowell, I was a nice girl. I was kind of a waspy girl. And then you gave me this monologue to do. And ever since then, I don't know why you did it, but I've been talking like this. Nice baby, eat up all your chicken soup, but Mama's gonna tell you a story about Jake, the beanstalk.
Miss Personality of 1960, Pam Rand.
Tell me, why did you do that to me? I couldn't get over that. I couldn't stop talking like this.
Do you have anything beside a Yiddish accent?
Well, I can speak with the French accent very easily. It is very simple for me.
German.
German? We don't want no German. English. English? Oh, thanks, but the show's not about me. It's all about you, dear.
Thank you.
Miss Personality.
Miss Personality. Now, Jack, listen closely and see if you can recognize this voice.
As I started my senior year in 1981, I figured what better way to breeze through the year than to take public speaking. About 3 weeks in, he said, hey, will you audition for the fall production? And I declined, courteously. And you said, okay, don't audition, but just come watch the auditions.
It's class of '92's Peter Snyderman.
So about 5 minutes after watching the auditions, I somehow found myself in line to take an audition. And that year, I ended up doing 3 productions with you. And my senior year, I worked harder and longer than I had worked the other 3 years, and I was never happier than when I was doing the plays with you. And you might remember one of the most terrifying moments in rehearsal history.
I do, unfortunately, indeed. You want to tell the audience, or should I?
I think you should tell it.
There was a very, very tall, very dramatic-looking gun that fired black powder. And I gave specific directions to the cast: under no circumstances aim it at anyone. Just look and point it at the floor. And of course, in a horrible sense, I saw it raised and pointed right at Peter. It went off. He stumbled around the stage saying, "I can't see," but I could see my teacher credential going. Fortunately, there's nothing worse than having to call the mother of someone who is in the art department at Lowell and tell them that you blinded their son.
And the person who pulled that trigger can't be here, but wanted to pass along a message to you.
Wow.
Okay, check this out. Does any of this look familiar to you? One of these guys is Pete Snyderman, and the other one is me from your production of The Devil and Daniel Webster, circa 1982. What about now? Hey, Jack. It's Benjamin Brand. Hi. Listen, I'm so sorry I can't be there to celebrate with you in person today, but I did want to send you warm wishes for a happy 85th birthday and heartfelt congratulations on this special tribute today. Well deserved. You know, I'm often asked how it is I came to be an actor, and you have to know that without variation, my answer always circles back to you. As you might recall, I was a senior at Lowell High School, intent on going to college, but fairly rudderless. And you were the sophisticated, dapper, somewhat imposing head of the Lowell Theater Department. And almost on a dare, I remember auditioning for you for one of the school productions, and much to my surprise, I was cast in 2 of your shows. And they were both lead roles, which, is kind of funny in hindsight because I had zero idea about what it is that I was doing, no sense of craft or commitment, but you stood by me anyway. And it was fun. Of course, I had a blast, but something almost immediately began to happen that moved beyond simple amusement. I was engaged and energized in a way that I had never felt before. And it was your direction and your encouragement that actually moved me from a place of mere curiosity to one of real possibility. It's not an exaggeration to say that it became a kind of defining moment for me, because your belief in me allowed me to believe in myself, to the point where I started thinking then, hey, maybe this is something I might actually be able to do. So it was you, in part, Jack, that set me on this path. It's your fault that I became an actor. And it was the rest of the Lowell Performing Arts Department, including Johnny Land and, of course, Paul Zatilla, that not only nourished my appreciation and love for the arts, but also taught me about what kind of discipline and hard work it might take to become a true artist, a working artist. So, all of this to say, quite simply, Jack, thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your many, many years of love and commitment to your students, and of course to your tireless, passionate support of arts education. And I hope that we all will continue to be inspired by your tremendous example. I send you lots of love, a big hug, and I hope to see you soon.
I must tell the audience, I had a visit from Ben a few minutes before he was due to rehearse in a final dress rehearsal, and he said, I really can't do this because the wrestling coach insists that I go to the wrestling meet. And I said, well, you're the star of this show. Theater is teamwork like sports. And, you know, you're going to have to make a decision. Maybe you should talk it over with your parents. He came back the next day. He said, my dad is from the old country. He says, I'll probably make more money as an actor than as a wrestler. And I want the audience to know that his mother and his sister are in the audience. I don't know whether they are willing to stand, but I would like them to receive some applause. They see them?
Welcome.
You see them? Okay.
So, lastly, Jack, I've got a little story of my own. Back in the fall of 1972, I auditioned for Joe Tansey's first musical production just after he arrived at Lowell. It was a production of The Boyfriend, and the auditions took place on this very stage. The boys lined up in the stage left wings, the girls lined up in the stage right wings. Each boy stepped out to the center of the stage to pair up with a girl and sing a song. When it was my turn, I stepped center stage and looked into the eyes of a beautiful girl who I had noticed around campus but had never met. I remember looking at her as we were about to sing, and I just said to her, just smile, because I loved her smile. Well, the audition song was called I Could Be Happy With You, and that girl was Susan Kaplan. We've been married now for 34 years, and she is here, and I want to co-star Susan. So, I guess we met in a little drama production, so therefore, Susie and I owe it all to you, Jack. And now, it's time to say that that's it for tonight's version of This Is Your Lowell Life. But come back in 15 years for another Let's Back Jack session for his 100. Thanks.